In this video, I'll be explaining my process for gesture drawing. When drawing gesture, it is important to keep in mind that you are trying to capture movement. While eventually you will learn how to keep your drawings proportional, it is not the main goal. The first thing I like to do is draw where the head and feet will be in order to keep the figure contained to that space. The most important part is the center line. Center line captures the main movement. It's tempting to follow it from chin to right hip to right foot, but the true center line runs down the sternum, belly button, crotch, and left heel, in this pose at least. Next, establish the shoulder line, which here is tilted. Notice that I leave a space for the head, but it is not necessary for you to draw the head at this stage. Establish the hip line, which here has a slight tilt due to the left side compressing while the right stretches due to the woman leaning to the left. It's best to draw with large shapes, so for now the legs are simplified to a skirt to suggest how far apart they are. It's a good idea to think about where the rib cage is. Here, the hem of her crop top follows the tilt of her rib cage. Then I draw a triangle from base of the neck to the hip bones. You can actually do this before the rib cage and then draw the rib cage about halfway down to stay proportional. This helps establish the abdomen. Next, the arms. Notice where the elbow is in relation to the belly button. If you stand up and measure your own arm, you'll notice that your elbow and belly button are at the same height. Notice that the left wrist is right where her other shoulder is. To draw the head, I look at the muscle connecting the base of the neck and ear to establish how far back she's tilting her head. Then I look at the distance and negative shape between her shoulder and chin and establish where the eye sockets are. Now the legs. Make sure that you have established where the groin is. If your model is wearing underwear, you can use that as a reference. The knees sit about halfway down the leg and there is a slight tilt to their placement. Keep in mind the negative shapes, but also don't lose sight of the gesture like I'm doing here. Notice how the left leg isn't extended enough on my sketch, and the angle on the right one is off. It's always a good idea to step back and flick your eyes back and forth between sketch and reference to catch any mistakes. Then you want to make sure those are actual mistakes by measuring landmarks against each other. Notice how the head, shoulder, and knee line up. The leg wasn't extended enough because in my original center line, the center line wasn't as exaggerated as it should have been. And so that forced me to place the leg closer to the other heel, rather than extending it how it should have been. Then I measured the relation between elbow crease and hip to adjust the right leg. The end product is a sketch that isn't completely accurate, but that's not what's important. What's important is that you capture the movement. So as long as you capture the movement, the proportions will come